Hello and welcome to another edition of the Godfrey's Law Real Business Solutions podcast. I'm your host Brad McDonald, and today I'm joined by Louise Neville from Accounting Solutions Limited. Welcome, Louise.
Thank you, Brad. It's always a pleasure to be down here and working alongside you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And as I've said before, you're a repeat offender, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. We value your insights and input on the podcast, so great to be talking with you today. And today's topic is what?
Well, today we're going to talk about succession planning, how to build a strong business so you can actually succeed out of your business.
Okay, right. As in vamoose, exit.
Yes.
Sayonara, see you later, baby.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't really think about that, do they?
No, they don't. It's. I always remember some advice from my father many years ago. It's easy to move a girlfriend in. It's harder to move them out.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some parallels there, Louise.
I actually think there is, because don't we see it? We see, fellow people in business, and they don't even think about what life is going to be like after the business, but how could the business run without them? How do they get out? And they think the business is only about them, so if they left it, it's got no value and it wouldn't survive.
We all like to think we're somewhat indispensable.
Yeah, but I think people get stuck in that, don't they?
Oh, they
and
do.
And then start to wonder, well, how do they succeed out of their business?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So look, I think that's I think you've turned that around into a really interesting question or thought-provoking, sort of position. Is how do you get out? And I don't think enough people actually think about when they go in or during their business lives, because I see it a lot in the commercial work I do. And succession planning is hugely important, and the reality is it takes time, it takes a lot of thought, a lot of careful thought, and then a lot of implementation. It's just not invariably. Sometimes people get lucky, don't get me wrong, but there is quite a lot of work involved, isn't there?
There is.
Yep.
And it really starts with having to have a dream. So you really need to do a bit of dreaming, and there's no better place than a holiday to do that.
I like the sound of this.
Yeah, so, when you're on holiday, it's a nice thing to look into your future and think, when would you like to leave your business, but more so, what legacy do you want to leave? You may not even want to leave a legacy. You might just want to build it up and sell it for a really good price. But in reality, a lot of business owners are very passionate about what they do, and they are wanting to leave a legacy. And why spend all this time and effort building something up that is not going to be there in the future? So wouldn't it be nice if what you have built, that it continues? So dreaming is the first thing, is what would you like to do after you have sold your business? What age would you like to be? And what sort of lifestyle would you like to have after you have sold your business? So that then takes money, usually, on lifestyle.
Does,
so if most people, I don't know, what would you say when you retire? What would you like to be doing?
What would I like to be doing? I would like to be running my dream side hustle hobby business, and I would like to be travelling, and I would like to be filling my days with the things I want to do. So going surfing, walking the dogs, spending time with family and friends.
Fantastic.
And doing all those sorts of things, Louise.
That's great. Yep. And so you mentioned travel in there.
Yes.
So thinking about that, travel takes a bit of money. Mm-hmm. So often when we go to retire, it's almost like we need more money than what we're earning right now, not less. Whereas I see a lot of people thinking they can live on a lot less money, but is that how they really want to have their life? It's like...
It's a bit back to front, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's kind of like that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer said life's back to front. I think it was Kramer said life's back to front. You should be born, and the first thing that happens to you is you get a gold retirement watch for on your retirement party.
Yeah.
And then you go backwards towards a baby, and so look, it all seems a little bit back to front, doesn't it, Louise?
Yeah. Yes, and that's a nice way to start to think about succession planning.
Yes.
Is look
Working
with the
backwards.
look with the end in mind, and work backwards.
Yes.
Because often when someone comes to me and talks about succeeding and what could they possibly do, I first sit down and do a retirement plan with them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What do they actually need when they retire? And then we work backwards from that.
There are those numbers again, Louise.
Yeah, they just keep on coming in, don't they? It's a thing about being an accountant. So we work backwards and then work out where's the gap. What's the gap? And often, because business is your vehicle at the end of the day for financial wealth. So it's what you do with that money that you create in your business that is the biggest thing. But also you can build your business to be worth a lot of money.
Yes.
And that's the first thing we need to see is what is that gap between retirement and now?
Okay.
So do we build the business? What else do you do? I'm not a financial advisor, by the way. So what else can you do? And that's where you'd go to your financial advisor.
Yes.
So once we know that gap, then the big thing is what dreams do you want? For me, I really want to leave a legacy at Accounting Solutions. I think we've created this incredible model that really helps people get their financial freedom and a place where they can enjoy their journey along the way. And I think we've mastered that for clients. And so I would hate to see my 26 years so far go to waste by closing the doors or selling to someone external from the business and don't share the same purpose and don't share the same values because the whole business, all the people in Accounting Solutions share the same vision and have the same values. So we all have bought into it and it's our baby, really. It's like we are passionate about it. And gosh, to have another business owner come in, another accountant and buy that place,
that's what accountants do, though, Louise.
I know they do. And I don't think they'll be doing it at Accounting Solutions, hopefully.
That's fantastic. Good on you.
So that's the same with people who are in business. So many of them have built up this incredible business, got a lovely client base. And how do you get there's so many ways as you can build that business to be that financial wealth that you want it to be, to sell, but you need time.
Yes.
And the more time, the better.
Yeah. It's like compounding interest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. 5 years, ideally, plus.
Okay, right. So that's really interesting because often what I see a lot of in my role as a commercial lawyer is people leave the succession planning piece too late.
Yes.
And they're like, oh shit, you know, I want out or I'm done or whatever. And it's like, well, what does that look like? You know, who does that look like? How's that going to happen? Well, you know, there's so many things to work through. I mean, I don't want to make it sound scary and unattainable because it's most definitely attainable. People do it all the time, but it requires planning. And so basically, that's really good information. Like sort of 5 years out, you need to be.
Yeah, ideally.
A into G.
Yeah. So I had a 59-year-old come in to me 3 years ago, and he doesn't own his own home. He had nothing for retirement, and he was just him in the business and a contractor. Right. And we were having a laugh about that this week because where he's sitting today, only 3 years on, he'd be 4 times at least made more profit in his business. But it's not just that. He's built up long-lasting clients where he is now going out to them regularly. He's got employees on board. He now has set his future up. He owns a home and he's only going to have about 150 grand still to pay off on it. And then we're looking at building wealth for retirement and building the business that gets on-sold. So it actually is worth something, whereas before when he walked in the door it was worth nothing. Now at 59, I think he's going to actually retire quite comfortably at 65.
Wow.
And that was 6 years. That's a bit of a dream, that one, but
it's possible. The dream is possible.
It's
so
possible.
At the start we need to dream. So
yeah.
Cool.
So his steps have been having us allow him to be coached, and he's taken everything on board, which is amazing. And quarterly mentoring and strategic planning and succession planning has been the key for him.
Okay.
Really learning about his purpose and how to communicate that out to his clients.
Right.
So, yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a fantastic success story.
Yeah.
And everyone's path is different, but it's about the fact that it's achievable, isn't it? But it's like anything, and I think it's like many things you and I have talked about on this podcast in different episodes, Louise. It requires discipline, it requires work,
Yes.
and it requires accountability and consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. That is it. That's good. That's a good summary.
Right.
So that some of the things is what can you do? What can you actually do to plan for succession planning? So that's first. Have a goal. Have a vision of the end, but also get really clear on your purpose and your values, because that's who you want to sell through to.
Sure. Yeah. So you are, for want of a better term, manifesting your ideal buyer or person
Yes.
that is succeeding you in that business, whether that be internally or externally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, my employees would be perfect, but they don't have the management qualities. They might be missing people skills and being able to work with the customers. So all those things are trainable. And it's identifying who would be perfect if they had the skill set. What skill set are they missing? And then you can train them. And the other big thing that people say to me is they can't afford it.
Right.
Which is very common.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
But if you don't, well, there's actually lots of ways of doing it. But you can have your employees buy into the business, and the business is the vehicle that pays you back out.
That's right.
And so there's ways of doing that.
Yes,
So
lots of ways. Yeah.
there is, isn't there?
There is, yep. Yeah, because those numbers can be, depending on the business, they can be quite daunting.
Yeah.
I think back to when I bought into the business, I had a 1974 Holden Kingswood in Forest Green and lots of nice chrome on it. It wasn't worth a whole lot. A couple of surfboards and, a few T-shirts. And, I didn't have the couple of $100,000 that was required 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky that I had two then business owners who basically, sort of guaranteed my hide into it. If it all went wrong, they were going to, they were going to be the ones that wore it. And,
Yes.
and of course, I took that responsibility very seriously and made a good fist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, and built
Yeah.
it up. So,
Yeah.
And now for going forward for business owners is if you don't plan, you've got to think about that. Is where's your business today with this technology and AI and the advancement? It's so fast. Like accounting solutions won't look anything like it does today in 5 years' time,
Right.
because of the way the accounting world's going. But that's okay, because that means we get to spend a lot more time with our clients and actually do the things we really want to be doing.
Yeah.
So I'm actually okay with, and I'm going to be in the forefront of it all. So I think if we don't do, but if I didn't and didn't do anything about it,
Yes.
the business would not be worth in 5 years' time what it would be worth today.
Right.
Because it would be, you'd be losing clients, it would deteriorate, you'd be losing good employees. No one wants to work with a business that's going downhill. So
Yeah.
I think...
So it's about succession. Sorry to interrupt you there,
Yeah,
Louise.
good.
Succession planning is not only about having a plan, but it's also about growing and evolving the business in an appropriate way so that you have something to hand off
Yes.
at the end of it all, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it
and,
is.
and that requires constant stewardship, for want of a better term, of your business, a growth mindset,
Yep.
creativity, and questioning and keeping curious about changes and where you're taking the business.
Yeah. And bringing in your team members to allow their input into innovation as well.
Of course, yep.
3 years ago, I noticed that we were not innovative at all as a team.
Right.
And I did some hard thinking of how do you get a team to start being innovative? And then I realised no one's got any slack time. There's no slack time in our business. We're so busy doing that there's not a spare hour. So it was creating slack time, and then it was creating an environment where we could do innovation. So we went away and had this amazing day, an innovation day. and just really talked about all the problems in the business and how we can solve it with innovation, with technology, with software, but it was getting all the frustrations out. So then we had a theme for the year, and this is one thing we come up with in any of our plans, whether it's a retirement plan, strategic plan, business plan, or a succession plan.
Yep.
A theme for the year. So our theme for the year was innovation. And a year later, we had come up with all of our innovation we wanted to put in place and all the software. So then the next year, have a guess what our theme was? Implementation. Yeah.
Rubber road.
Yeah, and we've just been away again last week and realised, okay, we went and implemented a lot of it and then stopped. And we had no one holding us to account to keep it going. And we all went back to our old ways.
There's that accountability piece again.
Yeah. So this year our theme is momentum and results together.
Okay.
So, so we're off again.
Right.
So a theme is really good to have for your year, but you've got to see what is it that business is actually needing and within that 5 year or with wherever that succession plan is.
Yes.
And each year you change your theme and work on it, about bringing the whole team in. And, we now have, every year there's different leaders that get up and lead that day, and they just naturally move into it. And that's how we can see the team have become integral to the entire business.
Right. Yeah. So you're building that, resilience, creativity, innovative thinking, leadership within your team, which is ultimately strengthening your business and what your business represents when you come to walk out the door.
That's right, because they can lead it.
Yes.
I don't need to be there.
And what's the value in that for someone who maybe, whether it's your existing team who are taking over or walking into that ownership position, or whether it's someone from the outside coming in, the value of that would be just phenomenal.
You get, in goodwill, if you can not be if you see it as an investment and someone can come in and you can just be made redundant practically as the owner, you get, say if your goodwill multiplier was 2, then you can take your multiplier to 3. Or if it was a 1, you can take it to 2. Right. Normally you get another 1 on your multiplier.
Wow, that's really pushing the dial here.
Yeah, and if you think of your profit, if your profit's, say 200,000, if it's another multiplier and it was a multiplier of 2, that's 300K.
Yep.
So, it's worth a lot of money. But not only that, then it gives another option is you might get a higher price for it, but the other thing is then do you want to have it as a passive income for your retirement? And that's succession planning as well, is you still be involved and have some shareholding, or you still might have all the shareholding, but it is another option.
Yeah.
Succession planning.
Lots to think about, Louise.
Yeah. Lots to think
about. And so how do you, what with your clients, obviously you're involved in this sort of work with your clients, succession planning, I imagine, quite closely?
Yes. Yep. Seeing them evolve is fantastic. And we do a lot of succession planning. We actually run a group workshop on it, because there are so many topics, and I get outside speakers to come in with it as well. And that goes for probably about 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
Because there's so many parts to succession planning. Like if you think about, what do we need to have as key performance indicators to know that we're on track, to measure it, to see that we are going towards that goal.
Yes.
And what are the key drivers? What's the driver that's actually going to make this successful? It's like the cogs, turning the cogs. What are those cogs that we have to drive? And then the key performance indicators are checking that the drivers are actually working.
Right, and they are aligning.
Yep. And then some of the other things is coming up with, so we set our 4 big goals last week with the team. The 4 big goals that what we want to have accomplished over the next year. And so that's what we're all up to. So every time we come together as a management team every quarter, and we check to see, are we on track with those goals? So that's another thing I'd really suggest.
Right. Okay.
Come up with some 4 big goals for the year.
Right, well, there you go. This is a good challenge.
Yeah.
So, Louise, if people want to have a chat to you or your team about succession planning, how do they get hold of you?
They can either email me,
Yes.
Louise, Louise, at asl.co.nz, or give me a call, 374 9393, and I'd love to hear from them. Come in for a coffee and a chat.
Yes, you make good coffee. I can vouch for that. And they can find you at www. I was about to do the dub, but I'm getting old now, so I shouldn't be doing that. It's asl.co.nz is where they can find your website. And there's a lot of great resources on your website, and you can meet the team and find out more about your business.
And thanks for having me on this today.
Yeah,
Brad.
look, absolute pleasure as always. I have you. I think I've had you on every year. I come in every year that I've been doing the podcast. I think we're in the third year now, so that's pretty cool. So thank you for supporting this podcast
it's a pleasure.
To reach other business owners and hopefully give them some valuable new insights.
It is. It's a great cause.
Great. Thank you so much, Louise.
Thank you, Brad.
And wish you all the very best and the team all the very best for the 4 big goals for the year ahead for Accounting Solutions for 2024, and I know you'll smash them.
Great.
So all the best.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening once again to another edition of the Godfrey's Law Real Business Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Brad McDonald. It's been a pleasure having you on board. Thank you for your time. Real people, real podcasts. Cheers.